Now let's move to the final lap of the program. It appears the federal government has begun to reap the benefits of fuel subsidy removal. Operators within the downstream oil and gas sector said the federal government has raked in 400 billion naira due to fuel subsidy removal in the last 30 days. I mean, so it looks like the times are gradually setting in.
Well, it's good news.
Yeah.
It's good news. But there are affairs about this good news. Two of them for me. To what use are we going to put these savings? Number two, Nigerians are very bothered about sacrificing for a government that is seen to be wasteful, and extremely so. Certain things that have happened in the past week that have made Nigerians to question what governance is all about in the country. Yes, it's still too early in the life of the administration to say the government is wasteful. But these were the same kind of signs that have trailed past administrations. Profligacy, just spend as it is. There was this argument last week over the convoy of the president from the airport to some parts of Lagos. Some have argued that it's supporters that constituted the bulk of, but ordinarily we know what the president's convoy looks like. We should start talking about that now. We should also start the debates on the number of aircraft in the presidency. There are so many experienced Nigerian Air Force pilots flying those aircraft that should be serving the country, especially in the area where we have issues, in the Northeast and Northwest. This government should be prudent. In the villa, I'm sure we don't have less than 1,000 security men. In the villa only. So if we are withdrawing security men from VIPs, we should also scale down what they have. A report today has identified what the past government budgeted for feeding and transportation for the president and vice president this year, running into billions. We should be looking at those things so that when you are telling Nigerians, sacrifice, sacrifice, you can also see that sacrifice on your part. I don't see any reason why a state government should host the president to homecoming. I don't. For me, that was not frugal. A colleague, a senior journalist, when we went to the US for Obama's election, he asked the governor of Maryland, which is the host capital for the US, so what's your relationship with the president? He said, what kind of relationship? He's doing his work. I'm doing mine. Since I was elected, I have not entered the White House. Abuja should not be a mecca for our governors. They should sit in their states and think. Find a way out of our problems. The money we are sharing in Abuja should be like an addendum to what they're able to think and generate in their own states. They should not be going to visit the president Rankadede so that their re-election is guaranteed. Those are the wastages we are talking about. And when they move, some of them practically live in Abuja. That's where they live because they are playing more of politics than governance. And when they move, you see some governors with as many as 50 policemen soldiers, DSS running after them, people who should be tackling our security issues, challenges. Like you rightly said, some of these things need to be brought to the table for stakeholders to discuss. Who is running after these people to kill them? That they need this massive protection. You see, there was a video that was shown. Some said some people joined the convoy of the Senate president. But we saw him. Bulletproof vehicles with him because there were DSS policemen. Those vehicles are fueled by the government. Those guys earn extra allowances for protecting these government officials. And we put them to better. So the government should not just be telling us about what we are saving. We should know where this money will go into. What is it going to, what purpose is it going to serve? Are you telling me that you have gotten 400 billion? Okay, we are adding 2 more or 3 more coaches to what is running between Lagos and Ibadan. We have Ajakuta needs so and so. This refinery on which we have spent 11.3 million, we are now being serious, so we are going to finish it with this 400 billion. Those are the things Nigerians want to hear. We don't just want figures.
So, Mr. Adeoye, I mean, before I have you react to this, what he just said, and that's the political will to cut excessive spending. This removal of fuel subsidy looks like an economic necessity, isn't it?
Yeah, I personally think subsidy should be, in certain areas, the responsibility of government. Most governments in, develop what they subsidize agriculture, transportation.
Exactly. So those are areas we should be looking at.
Without subsidy. However, realizing the mess that we find ourselves, we need a transparent form of subsidy removal. A removal that people will appreciate at the end of the day. A removal that will transform the lives of Nigerians, that their sacrifices will not be in vain. The removals we have been having in the past, they are not justifiable. Okay, late last year we were paying 180 something.
85.
But between that late last year and June, they claimed there was subsidy. Some were paying 300 naira, 250 naira. What happened to that difference within that period? And you said that time there was subsidy. So there is a whole lot of corruption in Nigeria. Nigerians are ready to make sacrifices, but they want to see that those sacrifices are not in vain. He spoke about, they spoke about 400 billion. Good. That will just give us about maybe 5 trillion in 1 year. It's not even up to 10% of the 7 trillion we are owing. So we still have a long way to go. But I think cutting waste is something we just need to address. Our senators, House of Representatives, governors, an interview I read with Shibola Ige, who was then Minister of Power, he said each minister he was talking about 19 vehicles that he complained with. I don't know how many vehicles they have these days. You can imagine what it costs to fuel these vehicles. So cutting waste is not just about presidential fleet alone. It's also about our own institutional corruption. The Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission. When you see state governors, the first thing they do, when there is a new set of people in parliament, new cars, 20 million, 30 million for members of parliament. And then you buy a car of 20 million for a traditional ruler that has no borehole in his community. Borehole that will cost just 1 million naira. If you go to the primary schools in those communities, you don't find good chairs. That will just probably cost about 1 million naira. But the traditional ruler is, the governor has given me, a good 20 million naira worth of car. So we need to address, if we really want to tackle, waste, we need to address these problems. We have Executive Order 003 that says MDAs should buy made in Nigerian goods. Nobody is following it. Produces a lot of, but we still go abroad. And when you are sourcing raw materials, manufacturers are struggling to have forex, but they will not get it. But it's the state government or federal government that wants to import cars for, directors. So it's not just about it's not just about governors alone. Even civil service. Look at the cars directors use, civil servants, bank executives. Even though they are private institutions, they perform public functions. Go and find out how their CEOs, how they live. on public funds. How many microfinances have collapsed this recent time? What did they do with the money? Public funds. A lot of people have been destroyed. Some have 5 million, 6 million. But find out where those executives of banks, microfinance, how they live. They live in mansions. They collect loans, bank directors. So it's not just about government, public institutions alone. Even private institutions that perform public functions.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things are happening. You buy something, they debit you. The money didn't go to the client. Then you are trying to retrieve that money back. 6 months. They debited me 20,000 since February. I cannot collect it back from my bank. And I know somebody talking about 100,000 naira. Where does that money go? Corruption in the banking sector. So, you know, we are in a mess. And when we talk about government, it's not just government alone. How many people can rely on Nigerian artisans to work for them? Bricklayers, motor mechanics, rewires, crooks everywhere. These days, you see, Tyler, Ghanaian trade, Tisha, Ghanaian trade. They put the signboard telling you that, look, you can't go pick somebody from from Togo. In those days, it used to be Nigerians, you know. So we have lost a lot of Togolese are here, and you can imagine the capital flight. Millions of them who take money back to their country because our people are no longer reliable. So we need to, address the issue of corruption and waste in a holistic way, which also will involve institutional changes. We need to change a lot of laws that give power to people to embezzle funds indirectly, public funds, in a way that undermine our interest.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Dotto, let me have a final take on this. And I must say that I'm happy that we're talking about the fact that the missing link has always been the contribution of leadership to nation building. And of course, it's also very important to reiterate that this cuts across all the leadership structures.
All. It's not just about the governors, all. Because if you are telling me that it's a standard that a senator must have so number of aides, then I'll tell you what is that senator doing with those number of aides. We must begin to ask questions. We must begin to ask them, because we make it look like those who are in government, they must live in opulence. They must be different from us. That is why you find out that some people who become governors, who become senators, once they fall out of favor, their ending is not good because they go into depression. Somebody who has had soldiers running after him, and then he now falls out of favor.
And that's why they do everything to remain in power.
To remain in power. Because that's where so we need to address all of this to make governance less flamboyant. You ask me, yes, it's good when the president arrives that is welcomed at the airport. But do you see the number of people who go to welcome our president? Imagine driving from Abuja town to the airport with that number of people who will also take their aides to go. We have so many areas where we waste money. I'm telling you. And these things have been proven that they can be done in a cheaper manner. We may not have the time to talk about it today, but some governors have shown us that governance can be cheaper. We have seen governors here in Lagos, especially one.
And we also have
Babatunde Fashola, who drives with you. He doesn't chase you away from the road. And his convoy is short. You don't see DSS running by the side of his car when he's in traffic. They don't. It's instruction that he gave. Because who wants him out?
All right. I wanted to say that we also have some very high-sounding bureaucratic programs that need to be scrapped. In like 1 minute, your final take, Mr. Adeoye.
Well, I believe with the Nigerians are anxiously waiting for the president's cabinet. And I think that cabinet, the quality of that cabinet, the quality of people there will give Nigerians and the international community the direction that the government is going. And I just hope God gives him wisdom to make the right choice.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I've been hanging out with Adewale Adeoye and Dotun Oladipo. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful conversation today. Happy Sunday to you once again. And thank you very much for watching. That's all on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria. you.